What's up, guys, and welcome back for Solo Mining Season 2, Episode 2. So just like we talked about in the first episode, we're going to be going over the spreadsheet we're going to be using for this series. And kind of just like talking about how I'm going to be tracking kind of our progress. So mostly I probably wouldn't do this, under normal circumstances, but I think for this series, for especially newer miners who are wanting to kind of track how they're doing and kind of get a good idea about like what has higher value in their area, the Excel spreadsheet that I'll be using in this series I think will be quite valuable and everything. I've been leaning a lot towards Isogen based, turn my sound down here, Isogen based ore right now because it's pretty close to where I'm based out of, and so we've been getting a lot of Amber, Gramir, and Kernite and stuff like that. But I'm kind of looking at local right now. Just give me a second. We had one neutral come in here, but they're gone now. We've got a pretty big response. Actually, I think this, a lot of these guys in this are like bots. Here's the local right now. I always have local kind of like ready to go. I like having local kind of like a center focus, especially when I'm mining. It allows me to very quickly see anything that's going on. But if you're ever watching a video of mine, like if you don't see local on the screen, it's usually because I have it tucked away. Because I like kind of having my UI as clean as possible for presentation purposes for the video. But like right now, we're out here in the prospect as usual. So we're gonna keep an eye on local real quick. Kind of get a little bit more of this EQ Premier. I've been kind of working on this anomaly over the past few days, so I'm hoping that we can kind of kill it and get it refreshed. But this is we're still using the same build here. So basically a yield stick for the most part. We're doing, let's see, about 8.3 cubic meters a second on each. So 16.6 total per 180 seconds, which is not bad. It's like 10, 11, maybe 12 minutes if I get interrupted or whatever to fill up the prospect. But the Kernite runs, as you'll see when we get to the spreadsheet, the Kernite runs are just absolutely ridiculous in terms of value and everything. I'll try to talk about, the benefits of running sort of like a log or a ledger. Now, we're using ESI for mine. What I'm going to do is once this cycle completes, let's see, I'm going to go golden amber, I think. We're in range of all this stuff, so sorry, I'm trying to like make sure we manage this a little bit. There we go. And everything. So I also want to keep track of local while we're doing this as well. But let's go and bring the spreadsheet up. I want the spreadsheet to kind of like be, I want to be able to see local while we're doing this. But this is, we're using ESI to actually do this, and this is pulling the entire quantity. So if you guys want this, I can put this on Patreon and whatnot. But basically all you do is use the add-on and put your character card here, and then it's gonna, kind of pull everything that you've done in the past 90 days. Now we're using the character mining ESI endpoint. So what this is doing is it's actually pulling everything from our mining ledger. But now the way I have it set up, it shows the name, and then we pull the ID out. That way we can get the JITA price, and then we get the quantity, and then we get the date that it was mined, and then we have the total value, which is basically the price in JITA times the quantity. But then I added today the unit price. I think the unit price is interesting because you can come in here and look at everything that you've mined up to that point, or even in most recent history, and see kind of what is high value. So right now, like this Kernite run was actually crazy. Like it says 4 million right here, but like when we ran and did that Kernite, that was like actually right over here, this run right here, which was 10,000, that was like 8.5 million in the hold there. It was a really good run. We had ran out of Kernite on this anomaly though, so we're hoping to like refresh it maybe and get some more Kernite going. But that allows us, you can see we did a little bit of mining on the first, a little bit of mining on the second, and then today we've been kind of stacking a little bit. And what's nice about this is as we're actually mining over here in game, it's a little bit delayed, but like it'll end up adding in automatically. So all we have to do is come in here and go Control Alt F9, and it'll pull any updated information. And like I said, the mining ledger will usually hold about 90 days worth of information. And what I really like about tracking it this way, as opposed to like putting it in or like, holding a bunch of stuff in like a hanger and looking at it over time, once I mine it, I can go and I can compress it, or I can refine it and use it, or I can shove it in like a corporate hangar or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, I have the log from the mining ledger to kind of give us an idea. And we can look at kind of how the prices are actually changing too over time. So if we mine for an entire month and, you know, one of these items is consistently the highest on the list based on the fluctuating market, then that gives us a good indicator of being able to actually go out there and get more of that stuff, especially if we're ISK focused and not necessarily like manufacturer focused. But pretty much all this stuff is going to be a good source of Isogen. Why am I moving? I think I clicked in space, which happens a lot. At least we didn't run out of range for that. Get back to where we were. Yeah, sometimes if you just like click in space, it'll just like, you'll take off. We want to make sure we're kind of in a decent amount of area where we can still cloak if we need to. What you'll notice, I changed a little bit about my UI here. I actually was usually running at 150% scale. And look, there we go. We have a neutral. And so all we do with that is just we go cloak. And then we can kind of like check D-scan or whatever and kind of chill out. A little bit of traffic here today, so we managed to get a lot of mining done early on. But that's the benefit of actually like running in the prospect, is we can kind of just chill out here and not really lose our positioning. But what I can do is I'm going to update our bookmark that we had. So I'm updating the bookmark just in case we have to kind of move off and we can come back or whatever. But like I said, we can just chill here, cloaked. I don't see anything on D-scan. We can look at our warp here and look at like distance and everything. So we're 18 from the nearest gate. So that means as long as we see a local come into the system, as long as they didn't filament in, if they came through a gate, then we have plenty of time to kind of cloak before we show up on D-scan. So for all intents and purposes, for anybody coming into the system, they don't really know that we're even here. Like he's gone just now. And what I can do is I usually hang out and wait just to make sure they're not like, you know, popping out and then popping back in. You know, I see them like reported maybe down the way in intel and stuff like that. But I guess this will give us a good chance to, you know, watch this work. So we just mined more amber, golden amber, and inky Gramir, right? Which is not on here. Well, actually, that might be it right there. Nope. So this needs to be updated. So we can come in here. Come on. There we go. I don't know what was going on here. There's like Excel didn't want to focus, whatever. And so it usually takes like 10 minutes or so, but the idea is that like this spreadsheet would be in the background, kind of like keeping track of everything, kind of as we're going through it and whatnot. So not quite updated yet. You can also access it in game at any time too, because it is just pulling the regular mining ledger stuff. Let's go and drop cloak here. Go back to our mining tab. I'm gonna focus down on the golden, because these amber rocks are usually not that big. We're gonna try to get this prospect filled up, even though there's like, you know, some traffic going on today. Like I said, I think it usually when we have traffic, it's a good idea. I usually just try to keep local kind of like right there, centered up. You know, I don't have it on light background. I have it on dark, so it kind of stands out between everything else. Because once we see something, we just cloak up. And I like the like I said, I like the positioning of this anomaly right now. We're out of D-scan range for every single gate coming into the system, so it gives us even more protection and everything like that. But I'm actually kind of liking the direction we're going here with Season 2. I think as long as the documentation is good. That was one big thing that people wanted for Season 1, was just more accurate and more consistent documentation for like what we were mining, broken down on like what days we were doing it and everything, which is what was one of the big things I wanted coming into the Season 2, was to have that ability to kind of have that record, which is what this is. And this is going to be great too, because, you know, eventually when we get enough information in this data set, we can do like a chart But as you can see, we kind of started off the season kind of slow. This is actually what we mined in episode 1. And then all of this is what I basically mined in between that and this episode, which I'll be doing a lot of mining outside of like actually recording the episode, just so we can kind of keep everything up. We don't really have an ISGIL, and actually that did update. And the reason why this smooth glacial mass does not have a price is because most of the time there's not any buy orders for it, because smooth glacial mass is the Null-Sec variant. Pretty much anybody who's mining or exporting ice out of Null-Sec is going to compress it. Now, if this said compress smooth glacial mass, then we would probably get a price on that. But when there's no price in JITA, it shows up as a blank. So ice does have a value. It's going to be lower than like this, Isogen based material. But I figured, since I knew I was going to focus down on this spreadsheet in this episode, I really wanted to kind of go out there and get like a good spread. Normally, I'm going out there and getting a bunch of stuff like oxide-based stuff and, even some Veldspar and some of the Veldspar anomalies out there. But really, I like to capitalize on whatever's near. So we've had this anomaly over here next door, and I'm just going to keep hitting this, right? And, once we kill it, and if it comes back, we'll just keep doing it. If we don't have to travel a whole lot for mining, then we don't have to. And plus, this stuff is just going to be high value anyway. And that's something that changes a lot, right? So being a covert miner, we might, being next door, I just go over here, mine, do whatever I got to do, and then go back to home base. But if it was like 2 or 3 or 5 jumps out, I would probably take what I need out there, like a porpoise and the prospect and the endurance, and kind of pitch tent for like a week or so and kind of like mine that whole area out before kind of returning. And that's what's nice about this ledger is it's going to track it no matter where it is. I don't have to target. You can do that with ASI. You can target a certain structure or even a certain corp hanger to look out for items and get kind of an inventory. But by doing it this way, by leaning into like the mining ledger and just pulling the information we need out of that, it allows us to kind of like go somewhere, stockpile ore in a station that we don't normally operate in. And as long as we're mining it, it's showing up in the record and everything. So the idea is that after a while, after we're 10, 20, 30 or more episodes into this, you'll start to see, once we're just like a full 90 days worth of data in the ledger, you're going to be able to start to see, especially as these dates start rolling over, what the average amount that we can mine in a 90-day period is. And then that information, whatever you want to do with that information, whether or not to you that says, hey, I can, maintain Omega, or hey, I can maintain this sort of thing or whatever. I'm not going to sit here and preach like, mining for Omega, because that's a good way to burn out. But what I am going to do is just provide all of the information, the quantity and the values for everything. And I'm not really doing any crazy mining. It's not like we're out here with like a, solo fleet or something and really cutting it up. Like if we were doing that, we'd be having to track like multiple characters across the ledger. But in the true fashion of solo mining, we're going to try to keep this as single character as possible. Because one, it aligns with my goals overall as to coming down to just one tune, proper solo, and also having like the actual main out here and not some like alt and everything. It leans to kind of the direction I want to go in the future with industry and whatnot. Other things we can do out here while we're mining, just so we're not, just staring at the beams, is doing things like, looking at industry. So like we have some jobs here that are complete. And what this is probably going to end up doing, we're going to have to come out and look. Like this guy's still got 11 of 11, but we're going to have to go to our actual spreadsheet and, kind of figure out who we got to pull in to restart those jobs. Other things that I'll do here while I'm mining is like product discovery. Even though the main is not actually a focus on product discovery, it's finished its track. It's gotten all the things that you can get. As you see, it's like 2023 level on product discovery, but it's extra cash. Like if I'm just sitting out here doing nothing, but just waiting for the ore hole to fill up, anything that we can do, working on our industry window, working on product discovery, we're double dipping, we're multitasking. Because that's a lot of what industry is, especially if you're going to be looking at doing like capital shift construction or doing anything like crazy that involves invention, copying, reactions, all that stuff. The more things you can do at a single time, the better. That's just going to be the best way to do it, like multi-layered. That's why I have so many alts that are all doing different types of research and everything, because it's much better to research 198 blueprints at the same time as opposed to just 11. That would take a long time to go through everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, we probably go half a cycle here to finish up. And then what I'm going to do is, that'll be it for pretty much the episode. You know, I wanted to go over that Excel spreadsheet. Let me know in the comments, you know, if you want me to break out that spreadsheet and put it up on Patreon. All my spreadsheets on Patreon are available for free members. All you gotta do is go over there and join for free, so you get the notifications and stuff. And all my spreadsheets, my overview, my PI templates are all available over there, as well as just some other like info stuff and everything. But kind of while we're wrapping up here, also if you use the web store, use the creator code JakeLeet. That will help support the channel here. You can also support the channel by becoming a YouTube member, a Patreon member, or subbing on Twitch. I've been trying to do a lot more on Twitch in terms of like, you know, show my my product discovery grind over there, and also making myself available to answer any questions and everything like that. But as this series progresses, I think we're going to start seeing some really cool things, especially when we start getting into the big industry stuff. Right now we're just stockpiling. We need to get like that foundation of material going. Just like an insane amount of material, so that we can really start cutting into everything. So there you go. We are full up, and now what I'll do is I'll just cloak up, get our UI kind of put back together, and get back to station. And then my next step is going to be basically, I need to go, you know, restart these jobs on these tunes, which I use a spreadsheet for that. Maybe I'll do a separate video over that, you know, in the future. But we're going to get those jobs started, and then probably get right back to mining. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check out Patreon for exclusive content, use the creator code, and I will see you in the next one.